ready to do this video. Hi, 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 hi. Been recording finally. Yes. Finally, I got everything succinct and working. Let's get this video going. My name is Sage Kabai. Welcome to my channel. This is the tech behind the deck. This is my little universe space on YouTube where I'm going to put all of my stuff for the Third Eye Collective, but behind the scenes. So like decks that I review, that will be meditation videos, a lot of stuff in store. So I'm so excited to get this content out to you guys. This very first video that you are here for is a video that's going to recommend my top 5 decks to help you learn astrology. Now, these decks can be used if you are an astrologer and you want to get into doing readings for yourself or others. This can also be used if you're brand new to astrology, you know nothing about astrology, and you want to get going and start learning, and you're more of a visual learner like myself. Astrology is a growing and forever learning journey. Honestly, I know that there are many astrologers out there who are continually learning things about astrology. So don't feel leery if you are brand new to astrology. I am fairly new to astrology. I am a psychic medium, a clairvoyant, a claircognizant. So I am a reader. I'm someone who gets channel messages from spirit guides, from ancestors. So I tap into astrology, yes, but I'm not an astrologer by no means. Disclaimer, I am not an astrologer, okay? I'm not a professional astrologer. Do not hit me up on my website asking me for astrology reasons. I do not do that.
I'm also not a tarot reader. I'm going to say that too. Don't ask me for no tarot reading. I am a psychic medium. I am a clairvoyant. I am more of a psychic and an empath. And, you know, I'm someone that can feel and read energy.
I'm not a tarot reader. I was never able to connect with tarot. So these decks are not tarot decks. I just want to make that clear. These decks are more of what someone might consider not astrology deck, oracle decks, not specifically tarot, where they have the, you know, the Fool, they might have the Magician and all of those different archetypes. No, this is different. All right, so without further ado, without rambling on and on and on, let me get into these decks because I'm so excited. Like, these are my go-to. Like, I love these decks. I'm gonna rate them from the ones that I love the most, and I think you'll get the most information from. That would be number 1. To my least favorite, which I love them all, but let's get into my least favorite deck, okay? And I'm gonna get into why. I'm gonna get into details and I'm gonna show you the decks, all right? So let me get into my least favorite. So starting out, we have the Numinous Astro deck. Now this deck is created by Ruby Warrington, founder, with Bessie Matassa. And I don't know if I'm saying that right, but this deck is actually tailored to Astro. It's supposed to be like an Astro. It's an Astro deck, okay? So here is the book. You see that it's 45 cards and it has a guidebook. So it has a nice, beautiful box. I do like the packaging, I must say. You know, the particles of stardust from which... So it's just a very beautiful packaging. It's very well packaged. Let's get into the contents. We have an intro. We have a little bit of a brief description of what astrology even is. We have how to read your birth chart, how to use these cards, the signs, the planets. So this is really tailored to help educate you on what astrology is if you're just starting out, and, you know, give you more insight and education, and it also gives you some uses on how to use these cards or this deck, okay? So I do like this guidebook a lot because I feel like it provides a lot of, you know, details that may be very confusing, like the house systems. It doesn't go into great detail about explaining those things, but at the very least you get some sort of understanding, so you could at least make the connection, the intuitive connection. And I do like that it gives you a breakdown on how to read your birth chart. So that's cool. Now let's get into these cards. Now these cards are broken out by the planets. Then we have the signs. Then we have the houses. Okay? So I do like this breakout. I'm going to get into a few things that I don't like about this deck in a moment. I'll even have the conjunctions in here. So a lot of astrology knowledge that you can get from just playing around with these decks. What I don't like about this deck is the quality of the actual deck itself. So if you're someone like me that is continually like a rough shuffler, I'm someone that's very, very rough on my cards. And I feel like this deck, the card stock is very thin. Now, doesn't mean I would not recommend it, but like if you were someone who's very like, look how thin that edge is. If you're someone who's very heavy-handed, a heavy-handed shuffler, or you shuffle kind of rough, I'm not the most delicate shuffler, so that doesn't necessarily, you know, I don't shuffle these cards the same way that I would my other decks. I'll just say that. So that's one thing I do not like about this deck. The other thing I don't like about this deck is some of the definitions of the zodiac signs. So obviously there are many different definitions of, you can, as you learn more about the zodiac signs, you will begin to learn more about yourself, one, and as you learn about your birth chart, you'll begin to also learn more about yourself. But I feel like a lot of these definitions are kind of cliche, and I just wish that they weren't there, to be honest with you. I'm someone who likes to interpret or like do the research myself. So having these here, I feel like is a bit of a distraction for me, because it like kind of sways me to want to read it in the way that the creator intended. I'm not that kind of reader. I'm sorry. I'm a rebel. I'll tell you right now. I am a rebel. I am somebody who likes to find a deeper and more connected understanding of anything that I'm learning new. So I really don't like the little definitions they have here. I do like that each of the cards are named. So each of the zodiac signs are named. But again, I don't necessarily like the naming. So that's why this one is ranked number 5, because I feel like for an astrology, to learn astrology, this is great. And these more feel like flashcards to me. To learn astrology, these are great. But for actual reading, I would prefer some of the other decks that I'm going to recommend to you now. But I would highly recommend this if your main focus is learning astrology and you're more of a visual learner. This deck will definitely help. The guidebook will definitely help. The repetition of seeing the deck and seeing the cards would definitely help you to learn astrology and learn about the house systems and what each house means and what each sign, like a basic definition of each sign. I still would recommend like seeking out your own definitions in life experiences. Not to say that you can meet every single Virgo, every single Cancer, but there are actually other books that, you know, I'll put the description below. There's like all you need to know about astrology. There are other books that you can purchase that will give you a broader understanding. And even I would recommend looking up the stories behind each sign. So I'll put some info about that later, or maybe that'll be a different video because that might be a little bit too overwhelming to put a bunch of stuff. Yes, so coming in at number 5, I have to say the Numinous Astro deck. Okay, still highly recommended, but it is definitely number 5 on my list. Coming in at number 4 on my list, Black Moon astrology cards. So these cards, This cardstock is a lot thicker. I'm going to show you that first. The cardstock is a much thicker cardstock than compared to the first deck that I showed you. Actually, it's not that it's a thicker cardstock, it's that it's laminated. And I really like that. Like I said, I'm heavy-handed on my cards, and that really makes me feel like these cards are going to last me a lot longer than the other cards would. Okay, so that's one thing that I like about this deck. I do like, you know, the backing. I like that they put all of the different glyphs for the zodiac signs on the back. I'm feeling that. Let's go into the guidebook. Oh, of course, I like the packaging. I'm a fan of this box setup. Okay, if you had not noticed, a lot of my decks are, this draws me in. I don't know, it's just easier to store for me. I put this on a bookshelf. I don't have to worry about like it getting smushed and crumpled. So that is a plus for me. Now let's get into this guidebook. Okay, so this deck is by Susan Shepard. This guidebook is hefty. Do you all see that? Hefty, y'all, hefty. All right, so just some of the stuff that's included. Let's go to the contents. We have a breakdown of every single card. Okay, suggested spreads. Of course, we have an intro. Every single house is broken down. This is a little bit different from, I mean, this is included in the Numinous book, but just as a comparison, this is a little bit different how it breaks down the fire, earth, wind, earth, air, fire. I can't help but say earth, wind, and fire. Earth, air, fire elements. It breaks it down and what those meanings are. It has eclipses in here, so that's something that's different from the Numinous. So it goes a little bit into the moon. The other deck at number 5, the Numinous deck, does not include anything about the moon. This has some moon, which, to be honest with you, personally, I do enjoy. If you're someone that is into the moon, I'm very into the moon. I am a moon child to the core, to the heart. The moon really rules me. This book has some of that. It has some different spreads. I really like this Black Moon Romance spread. And y'all, something that I did with this deck that I felt like I wasn't able to do with the other deck is I mapped out my natal chart, and I'm going to insert a picture of that here. But I did all of my placements with this deck using my natal chart, and like it really helped me to connect with my natal chart. That's why this deck does not have a lower rating. This one could, I mean, it could have probably been number 3. But I'm putting it at number 4 because, like the Numinous deck, it's very astro focused. It doesn't have as many aspects of like divination that I would prefer, meaning, yes, obviously you can interpret these things because they do put like wording here to help you to remember. Like this one says messages, this one says destiny, so you know Mercury retrograde is reinvention. So they do kind of summarize what each of the things represent. However, the photo on the cards don't really go much into depth. So if you're trying to read for someone or read for yourself, and you're someone that seeks out deeper meaning from the details in the card, which sometimes I do, there's not much here, you know. And also it's losing points because I do like the size of it. However, I feel like this white edging just kind of throws me off, so I would trim that. But as far as like functioning as an astro deck, I would highly recommend it because, you know, again, it has this detailed guidebook. It has like some reminders of what each thing means. So as you're going through the deck doing readings, it kind of triggers your memory and helps you to remember what each of these things mean. So I do like it, but again, it's kind of more like a flashcard system. It's harder to use this one alone without developing a lot more astrology knowledge than just the basic beginner understanding. So I feel like this deck could definitely be really, really great if you're a more advanced astrologer, because obviously you can look at something like Pisces, whereas on this card they're saying Pisces and then they have a little note, I believe. But if you're an advanced astrologer, you could tie in 12th house, because I know Pisces is in the ruler of the 12th house, and then deeper understanding of what the 12th house means. Or if you have that mythological background about Pisces, or you have the origins of Pisces, or you know Pisces, like you can draw deeper understandings from maybe clients that you have worked with that are Pisces, or you know, the different things that Pisces can represent, or rulerships that the 12th house, I can't remember off the top of my head what planet rules the 12th house, but that's another layer that you could go into just from seeing the Pisces card. So I would recommend these for more advanced astrologers, but if you're just beginning and you're trying to use this as a way to learn, you are going to have to read the guidebook, to be honest with you. If you're using this as a way to learn astrology, you're going to have to read the guidebook. But if you're an astrologer who is trying to connect and become more of like a reader, use your astrology in a different way, your astrology knowledge in a different way, I would recommend this deck highly, as well as the numinous. So it seems like the ones that are on the lower half are more for more advanced astrologers. So it's almost like the list is working backwards. So the more advanced astrologers would probably benefit more from the numinous deck, as well as the Black Moon astrology card, because you're basing it on knowledge that you have outside of what's on the physical card. Okay, so that is your number 4 Black Moon astrology cards. Okay, coming in at number 3 is the Moonology Oracle cards. I love this deck. I cannot rant or rave anymore about this deck. This deck was like one of the first Astro decks that I got, or Oracle cards that I got. This though is strictly moon based. Like it's just dealing with the parts, how the zodiac signs relate to the moon. Like, look at this deck. I really like the imaging on here. That's what I'll start with first. Only downside, okay, let's get into the cardstock first. It is a bit thinner, and like I keep mentioning, I'm rough, okay? I am rough. So these thinner decks get damaged with me. Like, look at this card. I could show you. Some of these are already really damaged. And I have 2 of these decks combined. That's why it's so thick. I have 2 of these decks, and yeah, I probably need a 3rd one, because just keeping backups, because I love this deck so much and I don't want it to get damaged. Or if it gets damaged, I want to still be able to use it. Let's get into this guidebook. Now, like I said, this is more of a moon-based deck. So this has wisdom of the moon, phases of the moon, working with the cards. So it gives you a breakdown on how you could work with the cards, what these cards are for, blessing the cards. This is something different from the other decks. It's giving you an explanation on how to bless your cards, how to cleanse your deck. This is something that is very important as a reader, because you know, energies can get tied up in the deck from people touching it, from you doing readings for others or yourself. So you definitely want to make sure you have a cleansing process for your deck. The other decks don't mention that, because I feel like they're more astro based and they're not as based in divination. So yes, here we have the breakdown of the moon phases. We have new moon cards. So it breaks everything down by the different phases. After they go ahead and explain the phases, they go ahead and break down everything by those phases that they just explained. So I really like how this breakdown goes. And then they have some bonus cards, some special moons cards. So like blue moon, you know how they have that phrase, once in a blue moon. So, you know, they really go ahead and break everything down. So if you were someone who is interested in the moon, interested in moon phases, I would highly recommend this deck for anyone who, even though it's not, I know this is an astrology video, and even though this is not like an astrology deck, it is an astrology deck because the moon deals in astrology as well. And also, it doesn't just talk about the moon, it also talks about the zodiac signs and how they tie in. So now if you go and look up your natal chart, if you don't know what that is, I'll put a link below for you to look at that. If you know your birth time, birthplace, you can look at your natal chart. So everyone has more than one zodiac sign. Everyone has a zodiac sign that rules their moon or their emotions. Everyone has a zodiac sign that rules their sun, and that's the sign that most people know, their sun sign. Everyone has a Venus. Everyone has a Mars. Everyone has a zodiac that rules all of their different planets. You're not just a Cancer. If you're a Cancer, you're not. Some people are a triple Cancer. I don't know, but the point is, this is focusing on your moon signs. And if you know a bit about the moon and if you know a bit about zodiac signs, it can help you to deepen your understanding when reading these cards. I also like a lot of their quick and easy references. Like, they have believe in the impossible. Like we just talked about the blue moon. For the blue moon card, that happens once in a blue moon. That's why they call it a once in a blue moon, because it happens so infrequently. Now, these cards are more of an oracle deck. They're not necessarily like, although you can use them in different spreads, this is an oracle deck that kind of has lighter meanings. Lighter, you can do lighter things with these. So usually with this deck, I will use it as an overall summary, or to get an overall understanding of the meaning of the reading, or get an overarching meaning for the reading, whatever reading I'm doing. Okay, so I wouldn't necessarily use this to go into detail. Not saying that you can't, but this is more of a lighter read if you're doing a lighter read with this oracle deck. So this one is coming in at number 3, and like I said, it is a beautiful deck. The artwork is beautiful. The cardstock leaves a little to be desired, but the guidebook is great if you're into the moon. All right, so that is our number 3. We're getting close. We're getting close. Before we get into number 2, I do have an honorable mention. This honorable mention is, drum roll please, we have Astro Dice. Now, these Astro Dice, I know this is not a deck, so don't come for me, okay? This is not a deck. However, this is another form of divination that you can use to kind of deepen your understanding. These die that I got do not have any explanation. So again, this would be more for like an advanced reader. Not an advanced reader, someone who has advanced astrology knowledge. And the reason that I say that is because it comes with 3 dice. You get a zodiac, you get a planet, and you get a number, okay? The zodiac sign, the planet, and the number alone can say a lot of things for someone who is a more advanced astrologer. They can look at the zodiac sign, they can look at the zodiac sign and how it interacts with that planet, and then they can look at the numbers. So yes, again, this is recommended for someone who is more advanced in astrology. However, this is another great divination tool, so I could not leave it out. That is the honorable mention, these Astro Dice. Let's get into number 2. My number 2 choice is the Moon Oracle. Again, another moon deck. This is by Caroline Smith and John Ashton. I'm probably saying that wrong, but look at the packaging, y'all. Let's get into it. Look at this slide out box. I'm such a sucker for this kind of thing, clearly. Look at this guidebook. It's like a mini novel. The images are in there. They even have a moon table in here. This goes into so much depth, and I just love it. I think originally, I use this a lot different than the author suggests. Originally, I feel like it was meant for specifically like business related meetings, because there's a lot of talk in here about, you know, business and accomplishing projects. So I don't necessarily use it in that way, but I still think it works, and it brings a lot of value to my reading. I just love it. It has the moon goddesses in here, the moon mansion. So again, just a little bit more moon knowledge is required, but they do provide a lot of that here. If you want more knowledge, there is a moon mansion book that I could recommend. Moon mansion book helps you to understand the different moon mansions a little bit deeper. So this is my number 2. Look at the quality. Let's get into the quality. Now, these cards are not laminated at all. So that is a downside, I must say. But the artwork on the cards are so beautiful that, you know, it makes up for that. It definitely makes up for what it lacks in sustainability, if I can call it that. What it lacks in I don't know the word I'm looking for, but what it lacks in lamination, it makes up for in the artwork. Like, the colors are so beautiful and vibrant. It also ties in, it's not just moon knowledge, it also has like the planets here, it has the glyphs here. This is Venus and Saturn, so, and then it has the degrees. It really goes into great detail. There's a lot of deeper understanding if you take the time to learn about the different moon mansions. If you take the time to learn about the moon, there's a lot that you can pull from, your intuition can pull from here, okay? Not to mention they also have like reminders here, and the imagery helps a lot in a lot of cases. So this is my number 2 pick for sure. This is probably like one of the first this is the first Astro deck that I got. I think even before the Moonology. I think I said Moonology was the first. I can't remember, but this is it for me. I love this deck. Love, love, love. I don't use it as much as I used to in my readings, but it is still an all-time favorite of mine. The sizing, I will be doing some deck modifications on this page, so this is going to be one of them that I'm going to consider modifying, just trimming down, as well as the Astrology moon deck. So if you're interested in that, make sure you subscribe to this channel. Make sure you like this video so that I know to keep these kind of things coming, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss when I post. All right. Last but certainly not least, my favorite, possibly my favorite deck of all time. Okay, outside of Astro Tarot, just in general, this deck gives me life. Okay, it is from Caroline Smith and John Astor, the same creator of the Moon Oracle deck, so no wonder I love it. Don't mind this being banged up like this. This is how it was delivered to me. This is actually my second copy of this deck. I have another one. And I just want to show you the difference, because just in case you get the other one, just to show y'all I ain't lying, here's my 2 decks. All right, my 2 decks. This is the first one I got. This is the second one. Okay, it's very difficult to tell the difference actually. So this was my first one, and I'm going to show you that in a minute. But first, I want to just get into the details of this, and I want to show you why I ended up ordering another deck outside of what I've already told you about me being rough. So here is the little novel guidebook. Look at that. Goes into each individual planet. Mars. This deck gives me life. No wonder it's number 1. The contents, intro, understanding the symbols. Okay, they get into the symbols, they get into the language of astrology, 7 planets, the houses. So very similar to the other ones, but I just feel like they really take their time with this. They really go in depth with this and help you to connect, like an understanding of what a sun in Pisces might mean, or what a moon in Virgo might mean. Not to say the other decks don't do that, but then they also have the imagery to boot. So they got it all. They got it all, y'all. They know what they was doing with this deck. I love this. This is the deck itself. Funny little story. The back of this deck when I started to first use this deck on my Instagram, someone said they only clicked the video because they said that they thought I was shuffling cheese. So I think that's funny. And now I can't get that out of my head. This looks like cheese. But it is the sun, so appropriately, Oracle of the Radiant Sun. And look at that. Look at the detail in the deck. You know, look at the colors in the deck. And it even has like some of the other Astro deck. It has like that little reminder of what each thing means, which is great. The number on the top is talking about the houses. So here we have the house that this is related to. This is the zodiac sign, and this is the planet. So if you know as a astrologer what Jupiter and Cancer in the fourth house means, then you could pull deeper understanding, deeper meaning. If you don't, you'll begin to learn speculation. You'll begin to learn what these things mean, okay? And you can even, if you want to, use the imagery, because sometimes I don't even go with what the actual house and the zodiac sign means, because you get so much from the imagery itself that you can interpret the cards that way, which is something that I like to do for all of my cards. Because like I said, I am personally a clairvoyant, claircognizant, and a rebel. So I read the cards more with my channel messages that I get from spirit. So what stands out to me, what I see. And I keep doing this because it's about my sight, my third eye sight. Okay, so this is ranking in at #1 for its beautiful imagery. Now, caution. Something I want to caution you about this deck, because it's very important, and I can't help you on this, okay? So I'm just hoping that the publisher has figured this out, because I'm going to tell you a little story. So as you can see, like I showed you, I have 2 of these decks. The reason is my first one is damaged. My first one got real messed up. I'm going to show you. And look at it. It's a lot flimsier, the cardstock. That other cardstock is laminated. This one is not. This is just like paper, the thinnest paper ever. And I did read the reviews, and a lot of them said, you know, that the cardstock wasn't good, but I still took a chance, and I'm glad I did, because I love this deck, okay? And which is why I have 2. This one is now like my personal deck. I don't use this to read for anyone. The other deck is my business deck. But this deck, I would just say, it does not let you know. Well, let me just tell you, there's another deck, a version of this for $89.99 or maybe $500, I don't know, that people are selling, that I think is like the backing is different and it's laminate. You don't need to spend $89.99 on this deck. However, it's kind of like a draw. Shoot, depending on who the seller is, you may get this version, and I'm sorry if you do, but I promise you this deck is worth it. Just be gentle with it, as gentle as you can, or laminate it yourself if you're into the card's modification. But just a word of advice, a word to the wise, you may get that one or you may get this one. I'm holding on to this for my dear life, and I'm gonna take a lot better care of this one and try to be less rough with it. No guarantees though, to be honest with you, but either way, I will continue to rebuy this deck when it gets destroyed, or if it gets destroyed, because I just love it so much. It's so near and dear to my heart, and I know that you will love it too. So I hope that you enjoyed this video and that you gained some insight. If you were a seasoned astrologer, or you're someone who's just starting to learn, or you're someone who wants to combine both of your practices. Maybe you're a tarot reader. Like I said, these are not necessarily tarot decks. These are Astro decks. So they're a bit different, and you know, they provide different insights, but you know, I love them. I love them. So go ahead, if you're interested in getting these decks for yourself, check out the description box below. I'll have them all linked down there, so you can purchase your very own, and you can get started on your astro journey, or you could get started on your intuitive journey, your reader journey. Okay, so thank you so much to everyone that stuck out to the end of this video. Check out my other channel if you're interested in getting readings on this deck. I do general readings for this deck. I do personal readings on my website, sagekabai.com, so make sure you check that out. This has been the tech behind the deck, and I will see you next time, fam. I did it.